Move over, Batman, for New York City has a brand new hero. For we the Defenders are the rising action. How's it going there, everybody? It's Mr. Zen over here bringing you guys a brand new Marvel series review on the Defenders, folks. Oh yes, this epic adventure between the fight against the Hand themselves was definitely a thrilling adventure to actually watch from the beginning all the way down to the end, folks. And personally, there were some minor details that were personally like a very small nuisance in my honest opinion, but other than that, as an overall aspect of the actual series, I personally enjoyed it, folks. And I bet many others that are watching the Defenders are on board with me as well, because of the fact that, for Pete's sakes, we got Daredevil, we got Jessica Jones, we have also the Iron Fist, and Stick, and many other side characters involved in this actual series. That personally, so many characters, so little time, but that's what makes this series work, because from the beginning you could tell that this actual series, they're just jumping straight into the plot itself due to the actual time constraint of 8 episodes, folks. Yes, there are only 8 episodes for this series, very different from the actual other miniseries that it came with, as opposed to 12 to 13. Well, this one's only 8, so you know for sure they're actually going to try to drive the plot very, very quickly, or at least head towards the action or the rising action by at least the second or third episode around there. But continuing on, folks, the first couple episodes, I would say they're actually more the introductions of what's going on with each of the superheroes themselves. Luke Cage getting out of prison, finally doing his debt, and actually trying to come back to the superhero life. We see Jessica Jones, she's of course doing her PI business. We see Danny Rand still trying to follow the Hand, and we see Matthew Murdock actually trying to escape from the actual clutches of his superhero life, his double life, as you could kind of say, which is very interesting, because this series actually was more in depth with Danny Rand and Matthew Murdock as opposed to Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, which makes it very interesting, because Jessica Jones and Luke Cage had no ties. They were holding no ties to any of the villains themselves. So in my honest opinion, it felt more that these characters should have went all out in the fight against the Hand, but because they were more or less to say ignorant in terms of what opponent they're actually dealing with, that's why you could tell that the writers are actually more focused on Daredevil and the Iron Fist facing off against the enemies themselves. And personally, still enjoyable, folks. Very, very enjoyable. Now, granted though, Luke Cage's story was actually finished very quickly from the get-go, folks. I mean, he was actually in there to actually rescue a child that was involved in an actually slave business. And then, out of nowhere, they switched to Jessica Jones, and then from Jessica Jones, they switched to Matthew Murdock. They stay with Matthew Murdock, and with Matthew Murdock, and they continue then to switch from Matthew Murdock's main story to Danny Rand's main story, until they actually merge into one story, all together from the middle episodes and onward. Like I said, it's very interesting to see how the actual series will actually continue on from that actual angle, as many other people in the community themselves were actually a little bit frustrated the fact that Luke Cage's story was just very quickly done. But maybe that's because of the fact that, he has no ties with him against the Hand themselves. I mean, I personally loved Luke Cage actual own mini series, but I felt because this actual plot device, they had to stay away from Luke Cage for a brief moment for this actual series, especially with Jessica Jones. Her primary role in this actual series was more as an effect of comic relief. Every time Jessica Jones came out, you personally would laugh at her actual wit every time she's talking to somebody. But after a while, it did kind of see that she was very rude. Because I'm not gonna lie, most of the time, some of them were really just trying to get a straight answer from her, but she was really just giving them some smart aleck responses. At the same time, you were kind of thinking like, come on, Jessica. I mean, for Pete's sake, just try to be helpful for once. For once. But still, nonetheless, very entertaining. But I have to say that the choreography and fights between every single of the Defenders themselves was very well balanced. I enjoyed it till the very end, because we got to see so many of the defenders fight against the hand themselves, and not only the hand, but within themselves, that I personally was kind of waiting and actually seeing. I think personally, everybody was really on board with that. They all want to see the defenders actually really kick butt against each other, which I thought, let's see more of that. We got enough hand action. Let's watch some defender action right there. More or less, because we see Danny Rand fight against Luke Cage in the beginning. We see Daredevil fight against the Iron Fist. We see Jessica Jones. She really doesn't really fight the Iron Fist. It's more or less to say she's just really just trying to teach him a lesson. But like I said, and it's funny too, because most of them were always fighting the Iron Fist. And I'm telling you folks, Danny Rand was very, very, very irrational on many times. It's his irrationality that actually caused the defenders to many times actually have disputes against him. Because Danny Rand, like I said, he sees himself as this kind of person all at the top, and the defenders are trying to actually be like, you know what, hey man, hold the phone, bro, you're up here, but yeah, you need to be down here with us, because you know that's not how it goes in the real world, man. You gotta think level-headed. Can't just be going over the top, man. And that's the way I kind of saw with Matthew Murdock when he was actually disputing against Danny Rand, and many times, is because Matthew Murdock has more experience fighting with the hand from what we've seen so far. I know in the comics it might be interchangeable with who was actually fighting the hand more, but in the way that this actual Netflix series is going, Matthew Murdock had more of experience, but because no one was listening to him, you could say a lot of actual events were unfolding due to Danny Rand's actual unrationality. But still, can't argue with the fact that, you know, that man, the hand, they're very clever and tactful throughout this whole entire actual series. Because when you guys look at it, we're actually seeing many villains come out, and I'm great that they actually did that. They showed many villains, but at the same time, all these villains themselves were very overpowered. They were overpowered to the point that they were throwing Luke Cage, which goes back to my actual opinion that Luke Cage was, you know, he was underestimated in this series. Like, what was going on, you see many of the hand's actual top executives actually throwing Luke Cage around, and you're wondering, wait a minute, aren't they regularly human? No, it did not make any sense, because I thought, wait a minute, you know, Luke Cage has this impenetrable skin type armor, but yet he's being pushed around, which made no absolute sense, unless it was because of the Black Skies liquid that they were actually introducing in the series that made it actual, seeing Luke Cage like he's almost a regular human when he was fighting against the hand. Even though Luke Cage does not know that much martial arts, but at the same time, he should at least have some kind of, at least some fortitude against these regular people. I mean, for Bakuto, when Bakuto was fighting him, I mean, for Pete's sake, he was getting launched around. Same thing. Well, with Jessica Jones, I kind of agree with her being pushed around. I mean, for Pete's sake, she doesn't really defend herself. She lets herself get her little booty whooped around. But still, needless to say, though, ooh, man, what is there? What is there to talk about? Oh, that's right. It's the hand members themselves and what they were fighting for. In this actual series, we finally got to see what the hand themselves were actually after, and it was basically this liquid that was, or you could say these dragon bones that were actually locked up in this basement in one of these buildings in New York City. And it seems that the main villain, Alexandra, was actually after this. And you know what kind of made me a little ticked off is the fact that Alexandra was not really the main villain. No, folks, it was technically Elektra. Elektra was the main. From the first episode, she was slowly rising to become the main villain. She was a primary antagonist, but by killing Alexandra near the end of the series was kind of a big shocker for many us fans. Was more because Alexandra's actual role was really more or less to say leading the hand towards where their final goal was, but then with Elektra actually being the final villain was more like an understatement, like saying like, oh, the defenders need someone to actually have someone with fighting experience versus Alexandra herself, as she's just a withering old female, which was kind of like, okay, that seems like it's perfectly fine. Okay, let's move on, right? Yeah. Needless to say, though, with Elektra being the final villain, it seems more that Elektra's actual cause was also very, how do I say, she was not, to me, it was more like she shouldn't have been the actual main villain. It should have been at least one of the other hand members themselves, because Elektra was throughout most of the time having her memory, you know, destroyed, or at least just not part of the plan, and then all of a sudden she says, okay, now I'm the hand villain. Like, wait, what? Wait, what? Like, that just, to me, felt a little bit off right there. Like wow. I guess Elektra, with power comes great responsibility, right, folks? So yeah, quote unquote, yeah. But like I said, though, can't wait to see what more action is gonna be in the Defenders actual series, because we got to see all the other little side characters actually go about. We got to see the detective that's in Luke Cage's actual story, got her hand chopped off, so we might get to see more of her side story, working with the Heroes for Hire, if they actually go about towards that route. Like I said, very interesting. Claire even got a lot of screen time in itself, that I did enjoy the fact that she did get screen time, but it was more or less that she was the connecting puzzle piece. If it wasn't for her actually being there, Luke Cage and Danny Rand would still be actually going back and forth. So that I can see why they used Claire in that specific aspect. Foggy and you could say and Karen, they were necessarily right there, more of the balance for Matthew Murdock, as Matthew Murdock himself was more on the lines of trying to balance his normal social life with his actual, you could say, his life with the Daredevil aspect, which was made it very interesting, was because the fact that Karen herself was trying to babysit Matthew Murdock. I mean, for Pete's sakes, Matthew, get your woman straight right there. You know for sure Matthew's not gonna listen to it. But on the side note, continuing on with Matthew Murdock's actual storyline, is the fact that I personally was unsatisfied with the actual ending of the Daredevil series, and that was actually with when Daredevil survived in the final clash against the Hand. That I personally did not enjoy, folks. The reason I'm saying that is because of the fact that when you look at it in one aspect, you're wondering how did Daredevil survive that? How? Or why would you throw that plot device in there? That just didn't make any sense whatsoever. If they're gonna really kill him, that in a sense would have been the perfect opportunity. But because he survived that was a giant Deus Ex Machina kind of just plot device thrown at us viewers. I'm personally still wondering as to how they actually were going to go about that. I'm just very confused. I am very, very confused as to how they're doing it. I'm like just lost for words too. Even to this day, I'm still kind of mumbling in general, like, how the heck did Matthew escape? And Elektra, what happened with Elektra? Is she still alive? Is she actually still with it, or at least is she with Daredevil himself, or at least with Matt? Like, to me, it was kind of a giant slap to the face for us and many fans. But other than that, everything else is perfect. Everything else is perfect. Not gonna lie to you, beginning to the end, everything else is perfect. But I would say that's about it for this actual review, folks, or discussion, impression, whatever you want to call it, folks. But I said it all. Yeah, said it all. But let me know down in the comments below, guys, as to what are you guys' thoughts on the Defenders itself. Like I said, personally, I did enjoy it, but just that small detail at the end really kind of ticked me off. Didn't really like that. Danny Rand's irrationality it made sense to why he's young, but at the same time, it's like he didn't even think of that a couple times. But like I said, let me know down in the comments. And as always, guys, if you guys enjoy my content, don't forget to give a like, comment, share, and subscribe for more reviews, impressions, whatever you want to call it, otaku related content as well on this channel. And as always, guys, hope to see you guys again in the next video. But peace out, folks.